This is Bogdan with SourceMatch, and thank you for joining us in this virtual roundtable discussion around the subject of recruitment, how it's changing, and what it means for you, whether you're a business owner, a manager who's hiring, a recruiter, or a candidate. Joining us are 5 guests from very diverse backgrounds and industries. To begin with, Dr. Randy Wilt. He's a professional academician and lecturer at the McCombs School of Business at University of Texas, as well as the chairman of Bell's International, a marketing products company. Devin Peters is also joining us. She's an experienced HR business partner at Safeguard Global, who's managing HR operation throughout North America and globally, working closely with Safeguard's Global Employment Outsourcing Unit. Then Gasper Paul, he's the Vice President of Operations with Team Quality Services, having more than 25 years of experience in the automotive and energy sectors. Randy Miller, a senior chair and business coach with Vistage International, and prior to that, he's been an executive in the staffing industry for 20 years and a U.S. Air Force Squadron Commander. Gabriel Wilkinson is joining us as well from the SourceMatch team. He's a recruitment operations manager, and he has more than 10 years of international recruitment experience. Welcome to our guests, and we will dive right in with each and every question.
I think the biggest problem we get into is we have too many desperate people out there. And probably you've heard this before from other people too, is that you've got people who will take a job and they'll take it below their normal pay grade just to get the job, with not the intent to stay there for 3, 5, 10 years, but to maybe just stay there until something else comes along. So we're seeing people now, and of course the research tells us people will change jobs every 2 to 3 years, but we like for them to stay 5 years. But now we're starting to see that people are coming in and they're staying maybe 3 to 4 months, and then another job opens up. I was talking to a recruit the other day, and he was telling me that he got laid off from his current employer, and he was out there applying. And of course, he applied through these technology sites, talking about like Indeed, Glassdoor, and all that, and also on corporate sites too. And he started getting all the calls in. Now, initially, those calls come from a HR recruiter within the company, just trying to qualify you before he goes over to the hiring manager. But what he was telling me is that most of the people who are calling him were actually offering less, and a couple of the HR people just probably didn't know they were saying this. They said, yeah, we're able to offer 10 to 15% less than we offered the same position a year ago. Well, that's probably not the best thing to say, but that probably is actually happening more than we realize. And then this particular person, he accepted a position making about the same amount of what he was making at his previous employer, which is great. But then 2 weeks after accepting the position, he gets more inquiries offering to pay, 20% more, 30% more. And then the dilemma comes down to, is that, do I quit where I am now and go there, or do I stay loyal to where I'm at? And when I was talking to him about this, I said, but the position you took, you probably love the position. He goes, no, he said, it does probably 50% of what I've done before. The other 50% is new. So he said, I'm a little bit concerned about there where these other positions that were not available back a month ago, now they're popping up. Now, that will happen in any situation, but I think we're seeing that happening a little bit more in the pandemic. And what we're finding, people are taking jobs at less money just to get the job to pay the bills. And then also, as other jobs come in, they're a little quicker to jump up and leave and go to the other job. So I think ultimately, as an employer, that's going to affect me too, because I don't know, did I hire a person who really wants to work here, or is this just a holding pattern until they find something else they'd rather work at, or someplace they can make more money?
I think what's most important is that managers focus on having a positive attitude. Don't dwell on the negative things happening. Acknowledge what's happening, but use it as an opportunity to explain how it's being addressed at your company. And just keep interviewing the candidate as you normally would, seeking to better understand their skill set. Hiring managers should be selling the culture of their company right now and providing examples to candidates of how the company is supporting their employees throughout this trying time. And, candidates and current employees are looking to work at companies who take care of their people. And I think this pandemic has brought that to light even more so than maybe they did in the past. In the past, it may have been almost considered fluff to say, hey, we have a great culture. This pandemic has forced companies to prove that our culture is positive and supportive and people focused, right? So I think there needs to be a focus on that. The second thing that I think managers need to focus on is being compassionate. And that ties in with, the last thing I just said, but there are so many things that can happen during the pandemic and we see them regularly and they're unexpected, right? So, in the past, rescheduling an interview or withdrawing from a process may have been seen as a negative. It may have been seen as, hey, this person isn't committed to this opportunity. Being in a pandemic, we need to realize things are going to come up unexpectedly. People will get cold feet because they're nervous about a potentially unstable economic environment right now, just in the US and globally too, specifically the US though. And so we need to take the extra time and care to really bring those candidates into the fold and make them feel like part of the team before they're part of the team, right? That's what we want with our interviews. We can't be overly harsh. We should reschedule when we can. In my opinion, compassion and kindness throughout this process, considering the trying times that we're in, is, I think, what's going to help companies win top talent.
We had just a few in this category, Bogdan, and it's to demonstrate understanding, care, and respect for personnel in how they feel about their employment and their position in the workplace. So we had to, create more empathy for that. And then we also we had to do work at home assessments where in the workplace we were able to assess their performance and their abilities, where now you have to assess that virtually through just technology and not see the engagement of personnel.
In most cases, this depends on the job itself. Now, if you're doing something extremely technical, whether it's a programmer, a doctor, a lawyer, what have you, that need particular set of skills, you have to be careful that you know what soft skills that you're looking for from the people that you're interviewing. And I think in COVID, because you're not being able to do some of the things that we used to do, as I mentioned, the face-to-face interviews, the taking someone out to dinner and really finding out more about them on a one-to-one basis, it's a lot more difficult to do that on a Zoom call or a telephone call to really find out who that person is. There was more than one occasion where I thought I was going to hire somebody and I took them out to lunch or dinner, and through that process realized there is no way on God's green earth will I want to have this person on my staff. And that's not available. Very difficult. So you just have to be careful the overall process that you're utilizing to find out the behavior that these people that you're interviewing actually have shown in the past, and make sure that that is indeed the behavior you want in the future from your staff.
I would say that managers need to be careful of, and it might sound kind of strange, both a lack of flexibility and too much flexibility. They really need to reassess their former and possibly current so-called best practices to find out if they are in fact the best or just really good. That's where flexibility needs to come into play. We really need to be open to new ideas and new ways of approaching things. And we've seen a lot of that through the year, but there's a lot more that can be done too. And it's going to be an exciting future, seeing the kind of creativity that comes about. Now, in terms of too much flexibility, that sounds odd, as I mentioned, but many companies are moving, of course, towards mainly or fully remote work. And of course, a lot of employees are looking for that. It's really great. It's a new way of doing things. Again, people and companies can rethink how they're approaching business on a day-to-day basis. But managers really need to have a firm grasp of what's the right fit for their company and their operational and cultural needs. maybe in some cases, remote work is not the best idea. And companies need to be able to, and managers in particular, need to be able to come to that reality and say, hey, look, this is how society is going. It is a great new thing, being able to work from home, but is that really the right fit for what we do and how we do it? But of course, that has to align with current health considerations and taking the proper precautions. We wouldn't want to put anyone in danger, and companies need to make sure that they're keeping their personnel and their safety at the forefront.